optimizing our trading routine around circadian science, around circadian rhythm. This is a topic I haven't seen anyone talk about, literally no one, optimizing your trading routine around your circadian rhythm. And so this is unique. You're not going to find this content in literally any other video or blog anywhere. And I believe it's a huge edge. I think this is going to be one of the more powerful edges that I've shared. So yeah, we're gonna get into it. And if you're here, leave a comment, leave a thumbs up. Yeah, it's such a game changer. So the idea here, and my source here, is the Circadian Code by Sachin Panda. He is one of, if not the leader on circadian science. The idea with circadian science or circadian rhythm is that when we do things is hugely important for health and performance. In particular, those things that are measured are when and how much sun exposure we're getting, when we're eating, when we're sleeping, and by extension, when we're working, the window for our optimal work. So, and then the science is when you're exposed to sun at these times, you'll have these health outcomes versus these health outcomes. When you eat at these times versus these times, you will have positive performance outcomes or sleep outcomes, and so on. They look at a number of things, but it's mostly around routines, rhythms of getting sun, eating, and sleeping. And it will tell you when is ideal to work. Now, before we get into the science of it, let's talk about some concepts around trading as a business model. So, trading, you probably know, it's not something you can hustle. Like, to an extent, you need a certain amount of chart time for pattern recognition to kick in. And this is one of the toughest things about trading, is getting that chart time while also being on the charts and also not taking bad trades, right? Or you're on the chart, you're watching too much. But trading, for the most part, we're paid for having quality of decisions, not quantity of decisions, right? Obviously, you make a lot of bad decisions. You're not paid more because you made more decisions. You're paid less because there are worse decisions, right? And if a decision is bad enough, it can blow you out entirely if you bet everything, margin everything, right? So we're paid for good decisions, and we are paid to an extent for quantity of good decisions. But if you make a couple quality good decisions and you happen to use a lot of size, or you're good, it's a big trade, you manage it well, you can get your huge returns from just a few quality decisions. So I think success in trading, it's less about increasing the number of quality of decisions, it's more about removing all the lower quality decisions if possible and reducing it to just the highest quality decisions. And then what is possible? Well, I was recently looking at track records of the top money managers, and Richard Dennis stood out. He did over 100% a year for 20 straight years. Amazing. And there's a number of guys who have done 30, 40, 50% for 10 plus years. There's a guy who averaged 15% over 55 years. It is possible to have a tremendous edge, and I think a lot of it is reducing the lower quality decisions. So we want to focus on making our decisions in the window where we're in the peak performance to make the quality decisions and reduce. So before we get into when that time is, there's a couple ways to manage this. If say you're a day trader, a short-term trader, which typically nobody on that list was actually a day trader. Well, maybe there's some, but for the most part, they're higher time frame traders. Richard Dennis trading higher time frame. But okay, let's For sure, you can make a lot of money day trading. There's good day traders. However, you would want to only make your decisions within this window, right? You don't want to trade all the time. So people say pick a session, trade that session. Part of that is limiting low quality decisions, because you cannot be, when you're competing with your mind against other people, you cannot be at your peak all day, right? Usually, we're going to get into it soon, but there's a couple hours where you have the absolute peak performance, and then maybe a 6-hour window where you're pretty good, and then most of the rest of the day you should do other things, because you're not going to be very smart, really. So we're paid for quality, not for quantity, and we want to eliminate all those other times where we aren't prepared to be our absolute sharpest, right? That's the high level on running a trading business. And that is what's possible, is insane returns. Now, again, if we're limiting our trading to a shorter window, then we're only day trading in that we're not looking at charts outside of that, or we're trading high time frame with large targets where you only need to review once a day, and or combined with limit orders where the limit order is your delegate who represents you on those 20 hours where you're not online, or 18 hours, however long it is, right? So the stop loss, the stop market, the limit order, these represent you. You set these during your peak performance times. Now there's a part, and like, this is always hard to get away from. You want to get back to it, get away from, manage your positions too much, and think, well, trading is all about timing. You see the thing happen, and you want to, if you can act on that moment, the risk reward is way higher. Therefore, okay, I want to be online like right before going to bed because maybe there's an opportunity. I want to be online right after waking up because maybe there's an opportunity there. Well, in theory, this would work if you were at peak performance 24/7, but you're not. You're not at peak performance immediately before going to sleep. You're not at peak performance right when waking up. So when's the best time? Let's get into that. So here's this chapter on optimizing learning and working. He's talking about there's 7 variables to performance: attention, working memory, positive reward assessment, negative reward assessment, hippocampal memory, alertness, mood, autonomic function. Those are the 7. And generally, we're talking about physiology. You want to get good sleep, you want to eat a good meal, and you want to get good sunlight. So the optimal workday. Okay. Good learning and performance is typically a sign that you're aligned with your circadian clock, yet there's always room for improvement. Your optimal brain function is highest between 10 a.m. and 3 p.m. That's when you should notice that your best work or learning is done, 10 a.m. to 3 p.m. Studies have shown that this is the window during which we are in the right frame of mind for making good decisions, solving multifaceted problems, and navigating complicated social situations. So based on that, I'm going to extend it from 9 to 10. Usually at 9, I'm feeling pretty good and pretty smart. So say 9 to 3. Also, I don't want to wait till 10 to work. I want to get to work at 9 typically. Those 6 hours, all trading activities should be constrained to those 6 hours. Okay? Now, it also says rising phase of peak performance starts at 10 a.m. and tops are off around noon. It's during these few hours that your brain is really performing at its peak. So, if we want to narrow it down, maybe we start at 9, but all trading decisions should happen between 10 a.m. and 12 p.m. and the day ends after that. We're paid for quality, not quantity, remember. From noon onward, your brain begins to slow down. Okay, it's a good reason not to take a long lunch. Toward the end of the day, the brain gets tired. We cannot do complex, complicated work as well as we could earlier in the day. There's no way around that. Toward the end of the day, the brain gets tired. We cannot do complex, complicated work as well as we could earlier in the day. Yet, if you've optimized your morning and early afternoon hours, you will have already gotten your work done. With trading, you can get your work done by noon, be done. Okay. Sleepy brain is likely to make poor decisions. Two things are happening to your circadian rhythm that actually make you less productive during the evening hours. First is that your natural sleep drive is increasing and your alertness drive is decreasing. Second, you're likely working in a darker room. It literally makes you foggy, so your brain cannot think clearly. No matter how hard you try, you simply can't force your brain to learn and work optimally at night. I'm going to repeat that. No matter how hard you try, you simply can't force your brain to learn and work optimally at night. Okay? You have to give up the notion that staying up more hours will make you more productive. In fact, the opposite is true. If you set aside 8 hours for sleep opportunity to prepare for a productive day, you're giving your brain the rest it needs to be ready for the next day. Moreover, increased exposure to light leads to improved mood. We know that improved mood leads to increased performance. Therefore, is it possible that increased light leads to increased performance? The research points to this fact. Bright lights used during the day in the office or at home have been... Okay, bright lights. I'll back that up. We don't need to add that. We'll get outside is better, but research points to the fact that increased light leads to increased performance. No matter where you live, if you limit your exposure to natural daylight, you're more likely to experience low moods and have trouble making good decisions. Say that again. If you limit your exposure to natural daylight, you're more likely to experience low moods and have trouble making good decisions. Okay? You need at least 1 hour of daylight exposure. And ideal to have that access to daylight in the morning. Okay, so, early start time's not good, it causes problems, late night isn't good. So, a couple things we can surmise from that. The first thing is we should not be on the charts at night, and really after 3 p.m. it should be off. And by the way, my tool for this, you can get them on Amazon. I've got a bin I got at the hardware store, and I have these digital time lockers so I can lock it. It just makes it easier where I cannot actually even access it if I want it to, unless I use a sledgehammer and blow up my bin. So 3 p.m. the day is done, right? There's really, for me, it should be, I'm toying with the idea of Monday, Tuesday, and up to 5 p.m. some days, but for the most part, most decisions should happen between 10 and noon, right? So I can tell you from experience, man, so many times I did the wrong thing at night. I set a dumb limit order. Common one is feel anxiety at night and fear, and close my position too early on a retracement, or as it went right before it broke down the next day, so many times. And I thought the solution is I need to be more brave. I just need more chart time. The solution is to not be online at times when you cannot function well. There's no reason to think I should perform well when the science says I shouldn't. Science says I shouldn't. This helps me, because now I can say, all right, I concede that time. I won't look at the chart at that time. I'm going to make not the optimal, I only want to make decisions when I'm in an optimal state. So night's out. Now early morning is also out, because they're saying 10 to 12 is the best time to make decisions. So I think personally, I know that I feel good starting at 9, but oftentimes, especially when I'm trading poorly, I have a position overnight, I want to check first thing in the morning, I'm on my chart, maybe I get a couple minutes of sun, but I'm on the charts for an hour when I just woke up, I'm groggy, I'm not in prime peak performance, and I didn't get that sunlight for the day. Again, I make a lot of poor decisions in this time. Typically, it's not closing. Oftentimes, it is closing a position too early. I wake up and I close it, or I wake up and I open a position, and it's just, poor decisions. So that can also be cut out, and that also, an answer to that is my time locking device. And the time locking device allows me to I can set it so it doesn't unlock until, say, 9 o'clock, and then I go, what do I do instead? If I'm waking up, say, at 7:30, from 7:30 to 9, I'm going to walk the dog, I'm going to swim in the ocean, I'm going to lift weights, I'm going to do some journaling and visualization, maybe some reading, and then I'm going to only start once I'm wide awake, the day's young, I'm sharp, let's get it. So, yeah, for me, like 9 to 1 is perfect. There's 4 hours. Now, one issue we'll talk about before wrapping up this video is trading specific markets, because it matters. So I typically, for instance, for me, I typically don't trade stocks because in Hawaii time, by the time I start at 9, it's already 3 p.m. in Eastern time and it's closing soon. Now I could do it by trading high time frame with limit orders, but this is one of the reasons that I like Bitcoin. There's a lot of action during that time often, and it makes sense to pick a market that suits your circadian rhythm. I see people who try to trade night sessions, and I haven't seen that many examples of people who do really well doing it. Mostly the people who do really well trade the mornings, as it suggests, the late mornings. So like if you're on the East Coast, New York Open is at what, 9 p.m.? Is it 8 p.m.? Sorry, 9 a.m., 8 a.m.? I don't know because I don't even trade it. 9 a.m., right? So yeah, that's perfect. Trade from 9 to noon, you're done, right? If you're on the West Coast, it's not worth getting up at 6 to trade it. You trade the close or you trade a different asset. So for me, it's the reason why I trade crypto, and I typically don't trade stocks. But again, if you trade higher time frame and you have limit orders, you don't need to react to the small stuff. So yeah, that's where we're at. Again, if you find this useful, comment down below. And I already know this video is going to get like 20 views, but it's so important. The science, you cannot disprove this. Well, you could try to disprove it. I'd like to see it. And there's literally not another post, discussion, topic, video, tweet about trading around a circadian rhythm that I know of. So it's unique. It's going to be a unique edge. And you know what the beauty of it really is? Like, it's such a release from thinking, oh, I need to check on my positions at night. I need to check on my positions at morning. Not only do you not, but you shouldn't. So I can sleep in, or I can work out first thing in the morning. I don't need to go online. And at night, I don't need to ever watch my position. I don't ever need to check. I shouldn't, right? So I can be totally engaged in what I'm doing. I can go straight to dinner when I get home from whatever it is. It's really freeing. And then if that window is 10 to 12, like, you could take your kids to school. There's so much time to do other things. So yeah, it's a relief for me. And I read this book in the past week, and I made this change recently. And something you can do that's helpful is having a fitness tracker. So I have Aura Ring. It tracks my sleep. I had my best single night sleep in almost a year of tracking last night, and a lot of it has to do with not being online at night, right? And not being online first thing in the morning. So I'm sold. Like, my sleep's so much better. And then I'm really in the peak from 10 to 12 where I'm feeling good and I'm sharp. So much love. Hope you find it useful. Let me know if you do. Let's get it. Peace.